Hey everyone, can you hear me? Awesome. Thank you so much for attending our webinar, 4 Ways to Fulfill an Influencer Marketing Campaign. My name is Justin Braun, Senior Associate of Precision Marketing, and today I'm joined by my expert colleagues Daniel Lambert, who serves as IZEA's Marketing Operations Manager, James Mahalik, our Director of Business Development, and Ryan Schramm, Chief Operations Officer. So, as we kick off this afternoon's learning session, you may be asking yourself, why should I care about how my influencer marketing campaign is fulfilled? I mean, you already know how it works. Our 2017 State of the Creator Economy found that, our 2017 State of the Creator Economy report, which was commissioned by IZEA and conducted in partnership with research firms the Right Brain Consumer Consulting, Halverson Group, Lightspeed GMI, and Research Now. We found that when it comes to marketing effectiveness, influencer marketing continues to drive the most value for brands and agencies compared to all other forms of marketing and advertising investment. Plus, 69% of those working in brands and agencies that engage in influencer marketing now have standalone influencer marketing budgets for the approach, and a full third of marketers surveyed said they now are dedicating over $500,000 per year for influencer marketing. That's up 25% from the previous study. Yeah, it may seem like everyone's doing some form of influencer marketing now, but without careful consideration of how an influencer marketing campaign is fulfilled, your campaign could fall flat and not achieve its goals. Or, worse yet, you could find yourself in some serious trouble with the Federal Trade Commission. The 2017 State of the Creator Economy study also found that pressure from clients to not properly disclose compensation within influencer marketing is an industry-wide issue. Nearly 3 in 10 creators indicated that they have received a direct request from a client to not disclose that they were compensated. That's a violation of FTC and ASC policies. The complete study, now in its 7th year and known previously as the State of Sponsored Social, is the industry-leading independent view of both influencer and content marketing categories from the vantage points of creators, consumers, and marketers. It's available for download on our website's resource section. That's izea.com/resources. This webinar will cover the 4 tried and true methods to fulfill influencer marketing campaigns. We'll begin with in-house influencer marketing campaign management, along with fully managed influencer marketing services. Both will be covered by Ryan Schramm. We'll then shift to influencer marketing software as a service, also known as SaaS, which will be discussed by James Mahalik. Finally, we'll turn to Daniel Lambert to explore performance-based influencer marketing, including CPC and affiliate programs. Cards are available in the video by clicking the question mark button at the top right for more information. Now, without further ado, please let me pass the mic to IZEA COO Ryan Schramm to dig into in-house influencer marketing. Ryan?
Thanks so much, Justin, and hi, everybody. So do-it-yourself influencer marketing. This is actually how the industry began over a decade ago, and of course, it still exists to some extent today. In fact, our founder, Ted Murphy's experience with DIY influencer marketing is how IZEA was born. He used to run an agency named MindComet and was tasked by his clients in circa 2005 to develop what is now known as influencer marketing, but finding a bunch of MySpacers, the leading platform at the time, to post on behalf of a client on a compensated basis. We discovered through that journey that managing even a handful of influencers was really hard, from communicating requirements and expectations to reviewing content and dealing with the dreaded payroll office to cut physical checks or manually wire funds. However, there are plenty of good reasons that companies of all sizes do part or all of their influencer marketing efforts in-house. One of those reasons, simple, complete control. Especially if the campaign deals with a smaller number of actual influencers. You don't have to risk any other party messing up your campaign execution. It's also easier to do the manual processes when you're dealing with a half dozen versus perhaps 10 dozen creators for a campaign. But how do you find those creators? An entire cottage industry of tools has popped up to help make that process a little bit easier, especially on what's called the discovery side of things. Companies like GroupHigh, Hyper, and others provide SaaS technologies that scrape the top social platforms and blogs to be able to search for influencers by keywords and filters. A frequent challenge with these platforms, though, is that the data is only as good as what a robot can scrape. In other words, expect some false positives as well as some poor contact data depending on exactly what you're looking for. Given that these SaaS tools are not networks or necessarily vetted by human beings, it definitely becomes buyer beware on what you find. One last consideration around discovery tools. They're typically contracted on an annual basis with a 5 or 6-digit monthly investment level for software. In other words, it might become cost prohibitive if your company is not conducting consistent campaigns, or if you don't have the budget available to fund these tools. In that case, what smaller brands, or those that are budget challenged, turn to is good old-fashioned, I hire who I personally follow syndrome. This is a common mistake made by some marketers, assuming that the influencers who you personally follow think that they actually talk to your actual core audience, when in fact they may not. Another common misjudgment that's similar to this is that the followers of the right influencer actually reside in the wrong place, inconsistent with that of the influencer themselves. So, if you hire a great Canadian Instagrammer, they may actually have an American following, not a Canadian one, for instance. A larger trend right now is for PR and corporate communications teams to work with a limited number of influencers on a partially compensated basis in tandem with an exchange of free goods or services, such as trips, for example, with larger campaign support coming from a managed service solution or a SaaS platform to dovetail those efforts. There's absolutely nothing wrong with what I just explained, except that multiple brands over the past several years have either misunderstood or completely ignored the FTC and ASC's policies around disclosure and influencer marketing. Remember, compensation in the eyes of these regulatory bodies is cash, free product or service, experiences, discounts and coupons, or special incentives not regularly available to the public. If it's compensated, it's sponsored. And if it's sponsored, it must be properly disclosed. Many brands have tried to do the right thing by asking influencers to post some form of disclosure, but it's often in an improper or unclear syntax. For example, hashtag SP being abbreviated for sponsored. Or for less ethical creators, ones who quickly remove proper disclosure after the original post is proofed by the marketer. All of these tactics are hard to keep track of when you don't have a managed service and or a technology platform monitoring and auditing for them. But there comes a point when influencer campaigns become either too large or too important, or both, to be done manually or in-house. Particularly for national or global brands, the liability of execution, along with the efficiencies gained through bringing in a third party's expertise and technology, is where this approach is most valuable. Managed service offerings like IZEA are set up to work alongside brands and agencies alike, often in a wide number of disciplines, from brand marketing to digital and social to shopper, PR, and corporate communications. The process of engaging a managed service firm begins with ideation, often assisted by internal creative service and client strategy resources to provide recommendations rooted in years of campaign execution and data modeling. Unlike a traditional agency model that bills by the hour, most influencer marketing managed service providers work on a project fee model derived by the cost per post of the influencers involved in the end campaign. During the ideation process, prospective managed service partners like IZEA will present multiple options and investment levels that align with specific campaign objectives shared by clients. In addition, we'll take our 12 plus years of campaign outcome knowledge and apply it to our recommendations, helping to project results and guarantee performance based on your specific goals. Once a statement of work aligned to that creative concept is signed, that's where the heavy lifting begins in managed service, and the team that you've hired from that provider goes to work. Often, this group is comprised of account executives, campaign managers, creator ecosystem personnel, and client strategists, all assigned with one goal in mind: to provide white glove level service and to form lasting long-term relationships with the world's leading brands and agencies. They exist to take the workload and stress of executing a campaign off your hands while allowing your brand to be involved as much or as little during the development process as you'd like. Alongside the humans, and just as important nowadays, are the robots. I'm not talking about Terminator or BB-8. We mean the technology platforms that allow for the facilitation of these programs to be truly state-of-the-art. From creator discovery and contracting to collaboration workflows, regulatory compliance and audit, and electronic payment, these platforms are incredibly sophisticated and important to the overall managed service experience for brands of all sizes. In the past several years, there have been over 100 new companies focused on influencer marketing that have popped up across North America. Many of these fueled by ambition to go after this white-hot space in advertising and marketing. As a result, though, not all managed service providers are made equal. In fact, many are startups making all sorts of fancy but unsubstantiated claims. As you do your vetting, here are some critical questions that I suggest you ask. 1, how many years have you been in business? 2, how many campaigns has your company executed this year? And with what caliber of brands and from what sector of industries? 3, what is the size of your creative network? Are those creators contractually obligated to work with you? And what social platforms does your network support? 4, do you have any underlying technology whatsoever? And this isn't a joke. Many startups don't. They're trying to just do it manually, like I explained before in the previous method, for you. If so, may I get a demo of that technology? There's often a huge difference in how something looks in screen grabs on a website or ClearSlide versus how it actually works for you during the campaign process. How does your organization handle disclosure enforcement and compliance auditing? And last, what types of personnel will work on my campaign? And am I being charged for the services, the posts, or both? In the end, as you consider securing a managed service partner, be sure to choose one that maximizes the potential positive impact of influencer marketing. If your ultimate approach harnesses the possibilities of using paid, owned, and earned in a platform agnostic environment, your investment will realize its success potential return. At IZEA, we have relationships with many brands and agencies who want to have a managed service partner for larger campaigns, but then be able to utilize proven technology to help bolster their in-house efforts. For that reason, there are SaaS platforms for influencer marketing available to fill that gap. Now I'll turn the webinar over to James Mahalik, IZEA's Head of Partnership Development, to walk you through how SaaS can benefit your organization and what to look out for as you choose. James.
Thanks, Ryan. Since you're participating in this webinar or listening in, you've probably come across influencer SaaS or a platform with some pretty big capability claims. I'm here to shed some light on influencer-focused tech and share how we would vet a platform, as well as tell you what you should be on the lookout for. But first, when considering influencer tech, our experience has been that there needs to be a degree of introspection relevant to this decision-making process. And by that I mean an agency, brand, or even small ad shop needs to make sure that they have both the will and ability to utilize tech to facilitate their influencer campaigns. In all honesty, this can sometimes be a tall order. Unlike display or other insertion marketing platforms like a Taboola or Outbrain, for example, influencer marketing tech should never, and I'm going to highlight this again, never be set it and forget it. My reasoning here is that influencer marketing inherently relies on people and not computers to produce and distribute content. This means that there's still a need for platform management and a human on the marketer side to answer questions, provide instruction, and review content before distribution, because we are dealing with people on the other end of the line. From my own experience, as well as the deep dive into the industry landscape that IZEA has conducted, I would be wary of any platform that reduces or eliminates any of these touch points. So please be on the lookout for that as you start vetting SaaS solutions. Any software solution is also best suited for organizations that have multiple requests or continued need for influencer marketing. Whether you have a long list of clients or a single customer that wants social content to be created on a cadence throughout a year, the point here is that you'll want to make sure that you can justify the licensing fees that are common with SaaS, right? You don't want to be paying for something that you're ultimately not going to be using or using effectively. Through our own industry deep dives, competitive research, and feedback from users, both large and small, we've discovered that at its very core, influencer marketing software must cover 4 what we call core tenets of what we've dubbed the execution chain. While many of the newer startups that have emerged to take advantage of a growing market or existing SaaS platforms that tout that they have an end-to-end solution, really most only facilitate one of the 4 aspects, and those are as follows. The first is find, second is organize, third is activate, and fourth is pay. So really just 4 buckets that any tech platform should be able to do effectively to execute on influencer marketing campaigns. Now, while one of these 4 may be fine for some, that means that only part of the overall equation is addressed, and that generally leaves gaps in the influencer experience for both the marketer and the influencer on the creation side. So to explain the 4 tenets, as we call them, we'll start with find. This is really the ability to discover new influencers via either an outward-facing scraper or through a robust search into an existing network like IZEA's. When considering find, you'll want to make sure that the search criteria and metrics gathered match not only your needs, but also provide insight into who the influencer is as a person. We want to look at their entire social graph and who they are almost offline, if you will. Because remember, we're dealing with people, and those people are creating content on your behalf, and they're becoming an extension of your brand. So after you've been able to find the right influencer through the quote-unquote find criteria, you'll want to make sure that you can use tech in a way that organizes these influencers so that they are clearly defined and accessible. Whether this is a list or through tagging, the organization of influencers is paramount if you're going to actually commit to their use, especially if it's at a later date, perhaps after a sale is made and you're just doing pre-sale research utilizing a tech right now. Many marketers often overlook the organized aspect, but it's incredibly important to this process, especially if great content is going to be created. With that, an activation layer is also needed. You'll want to make sure that there are multiple touch points like we've mentioned before, and you'll also want to explore workflow and ask for a live demonstration to make sure that you're actually dealing with tech and not vaporware, because that does exist in the marketplace. So some questions to ask yourself are, does this handle communication, or is everything done through email? Is there a way for me to upload a brief, assets, or perhaps a brand Bible if that's necessary? Do I have the ability to review content and ask for changes before that content's published? Is there FTC disclosure? Is that mandated? Because that's a big deal. How much control do I have over what's said about my brand or my client? Again, these are all important questions to ask as you're vetting through software. Make sure that you are well aware of the platform's capabilities and how they align with your needs before committing to anything. And finally, the 4th tenet is really payment, right? So that's what everybody is interested in, especially the influencers. So when we think about payment, nothing is worse than having to cut a check or ask an influencer for their banking information. That creates a security issue and is generally a pain to deal with, and nobody has time for that. Any good software is going to allow an influencer to plug into a payment system that handles the transfer of money, as well as taxable information, especially if you're operating in the US. While what we've just outlined isn't the end-all be-all of vetting criteria, and your mileage may vary with one of our 4 tenets, they may not even apply to what you're looking for. The point we want to drive home is that research and homework are your friend when it comes to SaaS. Make sure that you're asking the right questions and are really challenging anyone who is trying to sell you. And with that, I'd like to introduce Daniel Lambert, who will discuss performance and affiliate-based strategies.
Thank you, James. And in that research and discovery that you're going to be doing, you'll probably come across a different type of influencer marketing. Many of you are probably more familiar with the methods mentioned by James and Ryan. However, there are a few supplementary methods in influencer that are worth noting. These methods fall into the category of pay per performance. The first form of pay per performance is cost per click, or CPC, one that most of us are already familiar with AdWords PPC campaigns, Facebook ads, and the like. Oftentimes, people will ask us how a cost per click model can work in influencer marketing, particularly when creators are primarily compensated on a cost per post basis. The answer is twofold. From the influencer's perspective, CPC influencer marketing does not rely on user-generated content, or UGC content. Instead of influencers creating posts on behalf of your brand, they would in fact be distributing content that already exists for your brand, such as blog posts and white papers. For example, if you're on an online retailer and want to promote your new wireless headphones, you would add the URL, send it to a network of creators. From there, the influencers will self-select what they want to share with their network, and you'll pay on a CPC basis when they share that content. From a marketer's perspective, you're getting higher quality placements than your less intrusive traditional means of advertising, such as display. Not only are all these placements native, but they will live on in perpetuity. That allows for earned engagements. For example, if you run that same wireless headphone campaign mentioned earlier, and you set a $30 budget with a 25-cent CPC, your campaign could run out of budget after 120 clicks, and typically that ad would stop running, but not so fast. That post is still living in the influencer's social feeds and getting additional clicks and engagements. All of these are now earned and lowering your effective CPC, which is very difficult to find in almost any other marketing medium. Sounds great, right? Well, like any other marketing methods, CPC marketing does have its drawbacks. The primary downsides are that it has difficulty scaling. As you'll find with the affiliate section as well, cost per performance model have a significantly harder time scaling. Unlike a display network with nearly unlimited web placements, there are only so many influencers in any given network. Even less of those will identify with your brand. Also, all sharing is self-selected by the influencer. So no matter how much you want to pay certain influencers, they won't want to share your stuff because it doesn't identify what they're following. You have to make sure that you have the right message and the right influencers, and that's in limited supply. But enough of the negatives. Let me recap the positive aspects of CPC influencer marketing. It's a great ancillary method for distributing your existing content. This could even be user-generated content from an influencer campaign run through a managed service or through a software. So keep that in mind. It's okay to repurpose content that you've done in other forms of influencer with CPC. You're also only charged for clicks on your content, not likes, comments, shares, or other engagements. This is really big because a lot of companies will look at a CPE and you're getting all of that for free. You also have the ability to decrease your effective cost per click with earned engagements, incorporate geofencing, and you can automate project creation with your RSS feed. So every time you add new content to your blog, you can automatically promote it through influencers if you choose. This is the part where I would normally explain the process for vetting potential partners, but there's only two real providers of this to date. It's ourselves, IZEA, and Suede. Now on to affiliate. The second method of paid performance marketing is affiliate. And this works in the same way that traditional affiliate does. An online marketplace, retailer, or brand will pay a commission to an influencer for traffic, conversions, or sales generated from their referrals. This is a good way to keep costs down and tie influencers directly to conversions for your company. Who doesn't want to pay just for direct results? I know I do, and if you're a marketer, you probably do as well. Hopefully, but we're out of luck. As ideal as affiliate influencer marketing sounds, it's only truly applicable to a select few industries, primarily online retailers and publishers. Also, with the promising exception of Amazon's influencer program, no one else has been able to create an influencer affiliate program that can truly scale. This can be tied back to two core difficulties. Last click attribution is the bane of affiliate marketing's existence. People are complicated. The way they make purchases is no different. If everyone bought an item on their first visit, all of us would be better marketers and affiliate influencer marketing would be significantly easier. Unfortunately, that's never ever land, and it will never be how actual people make purchases. Effectively attributing sales to the affiliate link that got them there in the first place has been a really difficult challenge for affiliate influencer marketers. Technology has been the biggest culprit because it still takes marketer intervention when product/content changes, time periods expire, and other marketing campaigns are in play fighting for that same ad dollar. In-platform link embedding also causes problem. Instagram is the perfect example. You have to add the link within a profile and use a URL shortener such as bit.ly just to get your UTM parameters to track what's actually going on. And this last slide that I've included is a handy dandy graph if you're interested in cost pay per performance influencer marketing that breaks out the differences between CPC and affiliate. With that being said, I'm going to pass it back to Ryan to summarize everything that we've gone over and lead us into the Q&A section. Ryan?
Great. Thanks, Danny. And thanks to each of you for joining us today. Like we tried to outline, there's really 4 different ways we see innovation occurring right now in the influencer marketing landscape. From in-house solutions and platforms that are geared just to be able to make that easier for you, to managed services that take care of all of those approaches in a white glove manner, to SaaS and performance-based solutions. The influencer marketing industry stands to gain even more traction in the years to come. And we here at IZEA are really trying to focus our time and resources and all of our energy towards providing resources and education towards brands and agencies alike. And we invite you to use those at your disposal at IZEA.com/resources and on our Facebook and LinkedIn corporate profiles. Just search IZEA.